Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Franklin welcomes you today to our gathering place to share with Maethel's family our deepest sorrow and love. Her loss to you and ourselves is immense. It is deep. It is wide. She will always be to us our inspiration, a creative thought. Please stand in honor of Maethel's family. If you're able. Please be seated. We come together to celebrate the life of Maethel Shindelman, who was born November the 11th, 1925, deceased July 24, 2021. She was 95 years old. To be human is to be in touch with the larger rhythms and harmonies of the universe, to be aware of beauty, the attendance of the earth, is to embrace the present moment as a sacred occasion. Maethel's life is our life. Opening words. Living well before dying is the recognition of death as natural and inevitable. It is a serene understanding of the universe, the acceptance of oneself as whole and complete. It is leaving the world with honor, grace, and integrity, maintaining dignity of character, which says that every day is a preparation for the end. Why every end is a reflection of all the days that have gone before. Maethel Shindelman was blessed with good genes, relative good health, loved, and a great, great mind. It was a distant mind. Here with me, our favorite hymn, Spirit of Life. Greetings. Be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars, and the noisy confusion of life. Keep peace in your soul. My hope has become my strength and song. when darkness hushes near me. Wisdom comforts me and holds my hand. All things are in process, which is another way of saying that creativity is the nature of reality. We're forever changing. However, I suspect that we are a part of a universal consciousness that at moments in time make us aware of our connectedness to all that is. Life is sacred. The non-living material accompanies the living as substance, beauty, and reverence. Life is a spiritual journey. Listen with me. The selection from the book. I understand that Beethoven was one of the Nathan's patients.
We would have loved that.
Gleanings from Maethel's garden. Deborah and I have been to visit Maethel times. Deborah's farm was. We would go out on her back porch and look at the forest, talk about her flowers, and she would say her lack of them. But it was so beautiful, such a beautiful thing. But sitting
and having a conversation with Maethel on her back porch has changed my life over these last number of years. And so I've gleaned some things that I brought back with me and wrote them down because I thought it was profound, some of them, and some of them was funny. But I wanted to share some of that with you later on in the service. You can share your thoughts, which relates very much to the church and the church ongoing relationship with the community. But here's some of her gems that I want to share. She said one time that none of us ever starts from scratch, meaning we are dependent upon each other. Another one, and she was thinking in terms of these last several years, the difficulty churches was having and our church was having with the pandemic and other normal strains of a church. She wrote these things. She says, if any community is to survive and to accomplish anything, its members must have the same common goals, same common purposes, a value system generally accepted, a consensus widely shared, and all of our controversies defined our boundaries. That's interesting, isn't it? She said this, no group can include everyone. Now this is the UU, right? But now this is what she meant. No group can satisfy the needs of all. Now that's different. That puts it in context, doesn't it? By the recognition of boundaries, we identify the landscape that we are prepared to occupy and the constituency that we are equipped to serve. Wow, she changed something into something very profound. Another, our choice is not between either being a part of the establishment or rejecting it. Our choice is to decide what kind of established institution we're going to sustain. She spoke a number of times of Freud, and this is one that I kept. I think Freud was right when he suggested that traditional religion is the result of the adult projecting the infant's dependence on the parent. Now, and that, as it stated, wasn't enough for what she was meaning. She went on to say, thus we humans created God in our own image, not the other way around. Culture has proved to be our surrogate parent. Wow. Another, to be spiritual is a matter of one's attitude toward all of life. There is a spiritual equality and quality in everyday experiences, the sacred and the secular. She suggested that our emotions are suffused with intelligence and discernment and our source of deep awareness and understanding. She said emotions are judgments of value. Well, she picks that up directly from Daniel Goldberg, who probably half of you have a book by him. I do. I have a number of books by him. And he was a psychologist, and they come from the same garden, I believe. She goes on to explain that thought, though. She says, feeling is an integral component to reason. There is no opposition between them, reason and feeling. She went further. Thinking and feeling are not two distinct functions, but rather are continuous with thought and ideas. Do you wonder why I love to sit on her back porch? She said this: the good life is one inspired by love and guided by knowledge. Life is a spiritual journey, and we are on it whether we recognize it or not. She has in her home a picture that's common, and some of you have seen it. Some of you probably have that same picture in your home. I do in mine. But it's words by Reinhold Niebuhr, which is one of my favorite people in the past. But he said this: man's capacity for justice makes democracy possible, but man's inclination to injustice makes democracy necessary. This was a subject that we talked about more than anything else. And two more is those gems from that vein. Democracy in America today is threatened by two groups: religious fundamentalism and corporate wealth. He says both of these can and have caused a great expense in our world. The last one she says here is plutocracy. That's government on behalf of the wealthy. She says plutocracy has replaced democracy as an American form of government. I think these last few years make you think that there's something to that. These are things that I picked up from her garden. And I will say that she really got under my skin one day with this gift. This is a gift that she gave me, and when I got home, I read it through. But I wanted to read one of these poems, just 2 stanzas, but one of these poems that represents her, I think. Maethel. Time is such a reckless spender, rushing eagerly along, wasting days and years and minutes, singing such an idle song. Yet, sometimes, one precious moment slips away from time's refrain, hides within a golden locket, hung upon a memory chain. The magazine Newsweek, she read from cover to cover every week. Then she gave the copy to Deborah, and she brought it home for us to read. And I read maybe an article or 2 out of each one, but she read the thing from one end to the other every week. She was a voracious reader. Maethel gave us such a memory chain from those wonderful conversations together. And I thank you, Maethel. Blessed be, and amen. together. Maethel's family welcomes you this morning in sharing a few moments and thought and grace notes about their mother, grandmother, and friend. If you care to share a thought, please do. We'll begin with those in the sanctuary. You may come up here. We've placed it here. We thought it would be best here. You may come up here if it makes it easier for everyone to hear you, and it will. That's turned on. We checked it out. We will follow those joining on Zoom when we finish, and I will offer a closing thought. So if you care to share something about Maethel, please come and do.
I don't think I need the microphone.
Yes, you do. You do.
Absolutely do. I think you all know. Can you hear?
Yes. Let's get up closer to it.
I think y'all know I walked with Maethel every morning before COVID. Originally I went to offer her balance, but then I went because I needed her friendship. She was very, very wonderful. And as Dale said, just wisdom. But one of her stories was that she didn't go to church when she was a child other than with a friend. And when she was in college, her roommate or someone on the floor kept asking her to go to the UU fellowship, and she just didn't want to do it, but she finally went. And she said during that one service, she came out so excited because she found out that there's people who think like I do. And then the other was she really did read from morning to night. And I totally enjoyed her company, and I will miss her forever.
Oh, I have to add a thought.
Every single time I would go to the house, she would say, "How's everybody at the fellowship?"
Gail, missed the musical interlude. I wanted to tell you about Maethel. Warren and I have been involved with the fellowship for over 20 years, and we knew Maethel and Larry over in the old building. And Maethel was our pianist. And Larry would sit right up in the front row, right in the front seat there, and Maethel would play beautifully. And then he would applaud. Of course, we would all applaud. It was wonderful. And I think that became a sort of a tradition with us. I like to think maybe Larry started that. And so we always applaud our musicians. And there was somebody that came into our fellowship that decided that wasn't appropriate at a church, that we should all be quiet after the music. And this person tried to reform us, but it didn't work. And we still applaud, and if it were for memorial service, I would applaud Elizabeth because she's playing beautifully, and I'm so happy to have live music this morning. So that's what I wanted to tell you about Larry and Maethel.
I'll speak from back here, but Marge didn't mention that we actually knew Larry and Maethel in Miami. We weren't really good friends there, but we knew the Shindelmans, and everybody knew who the Shindelmans were. They were wonderful.
The Queen is dead. Long live the Queen. Long live the Queen. I first met her 11, 12 years ago. Has it been 12 years ago with Carol out? I have moved those videos to the web, so if you would like to see her in her prime as Queen Mom, I will put that link so that you can see our wonderful play that Dan wrote, who is also gone now too. How sad, but she was a queen. Long live the queen.
Okay. Anyone else before we see if we do have others? Yes, please, please.
I didn't need to get a handkerchief to remember Maethel. I bought this from the thrift shop when she bought it, and I was taking care of the thrift shop. And I've enjoyed it for several years, and I will for several more. I like it a lot. It's a Coldwater Creek. Maethel was my Gertrude Stein. If you've read The Movable Feast by Hemingway, you know that Gertrude Stein fed the Picassos, the Fitzgeralds, and the people who from America who lived in Paris at that time, at the productive time of these artists. She supplied me with books. She supplied me with money in projects that I was working on, the church was working on. She was right in there for every part of that. We wouldn't have this building without Maethel's contributions. And surprisingly, I had a Gertrude Stein in the Tallahassee church, and it was Hazel Richards. I have to tell you about Hazel Richards because she was very much like Maethel. They were going to build a church, and the architects supplied the drawings, and Maethel didn't like them. She didn't have a lot to say about it until she came to the mountains. And that was at the time they were building the welcome stations, and they were simply a roof and supports. And she got a copy of the drawings and said, I'll pay for the change in the drawings if you will build a church like this. So if you have visited the Tallahassee church, you know that its windows run from the top to the floor and the ceiling, and the front is like the bow of a ship, and it looks out on a bit of land that in the spring has all kinds of rhododendron, et cetera, and in the fall has the changing leaves. So Gertrude Steins are important in the church, and we certainly have been very blessed with Maethel.
Yes.
I hesitated to share direct experiences of Maethel because it's just too painful for her not being here. But I do want to say that I also joined here about 21 years ago, and love Larry also. And Maethel was so special to me because I found her so accepting of me wherever I was at, so enthusiastic for the projects that I would also offer for the church, especially with fundraising for the building and auctions and everything else. That her immediacy of being right with you when you have any conversation, whether it's rarely over the phone, but here or at her house. It was amazing. And she was, as I mentioned once before at this microphone, comes to mind the phrase of a force for good. And she was that to me, and she was a true inspiration. And her light will not go out until, for me, until my own light goes out. She will always be an inspiration, and I'll just have the fondest memories of and love for Maethel.
Okay.
I'm Don Erickson.
On Zoom.
What's that?
We have Dawn on Zoom.
Don, go ahead and speak.
Hi, I'm Don Erickson. I'm speaking from Zoom. Maethel was an absolute.
Oh, sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's me.
Maethel was an absolute joy to have to the fellowship. She was always wonderful to chat with. She was always positive, uplifting, and she was always willing to do things. And I'd like to share my screen with you that shows one of the activities we had prior to fellowship was to blow bubbles. And as soon as Maethel saw that we were blowing bubbles, she ran right over to us and said, "Can I do that too?" Which was just the spirit she always showed us. And we're going to miss her greatly.
Thank you, Don. Okay, anyone else? All right. Then I'll present a closing words. You can accept this as a prayer, a moment of silence, meditation, closing words. I believe in death. I believe that it is a part of life. I believe that we are born to die. Born to die a little each day to selfishness, to pretense, and to so many wrong choices we have made. I believe that every time we pass from one stage of life to another, something in us dies and something new is born. I believe that we taste death in moments of loneliness and rejection, in moments of sorrow and disappointment, when we are afraid, lose courage and give up, when we see our dreams broken, and every time we say goodbye. I believe too that we are dying before our time, when we live in bitterness, in hatred, and in isolation. I believe that each day we are creating our own death by the way we live. To those who really believe in living for others, death is a great gateway to life. For each of us, life is like a journey. Birth is the beginning of this journey, and death is like a chrysalis stage to another dimension of reality, something like a butterfly. We continue to grow psychologically and spiritually in infinite realms as an infant toward adulthood. Grace is our mentor and guide from now on and into eternity, because stardust is in our DNA. For the family, may Maethel's memory be your comfort and strength. extinguishing the chalice, it is better to light a candle than to curse the darkness. Maethel said that. Our musical postlude. Yes. Just before we go outside, follow the family outside, there are several things to remind you of, and that is the Dentons gave me a copy of the beginnings, 2.5 page written history of Maethel and the charter members here at the church. So you may want to pick one up. I've got enough copies for everyone. And they brought some pictures, and I want you to look at them and see that. You can come back after the scattering of ashes and look at them. And you have Maethel's handkerchiefs. Now, when you first told me that you was going to give away Maethel's handkerchiefs, I thought, now, a handkerchief. I mean, that's old school. I was raised with a handkerchief. I have a handkerchief in my back pocket, but it's so interesting today. You know, we've let that go, but that's a tradition that kind of touched me a little bit. So she has handkerchiefs. They're out front. Is that correct? So that's there too. And then I want us to follow the family as they come up, and we'll light the candle, and we're going to follow them out where we can scatter the ashes. So we'll do that now and end the service out there.
Person comes up to get a candy.
And when you follow the family, we've got these candles here that we'll give you.
I just invite you to carry your light and think of her weeks. Just remember that there's a light of candle and curse the darkness.
Now, if you care to follow in the line, please come up and we'll get you a candle.
I haven't seen the